Hello everyone, my name is Keerthana Sherikar. I'm currently specializing in software and machine intelligence. Today I'm here to discuss about the understanding of the research paper, The Limits of Steganography. So, before we get into details of paper, let me give you a brief understanding of steganography. So, what is steganography? Is it same as encryption? Okay. Steganography is a technique of hiding secret message embedded within other messages. The objective of steganography is to transmit message between two persons or entities without being detected. As you can see in the image, it's just a painting, but however, if you look closer to the image, there is some information in the painting. So, how did steganography come into picture? The word steganography comes from the Greek word Stegnographia, which is a combination of two words, which is stegno meaning concealed and graphia meaning writing. The first use of this technique can be traced back to 440 BC. It is an interesting story. Do read it when you guys find time. So, how is steganography different from cryptography? In any security systems, there are two aspects that comes into play. The first one is data encryption and the second one being data hiding. Cryptography is a technique of achieving data encryption, whereas steganography is the technique of achieving concealment. In cryptography, the data itself is altered, whereas in steganography, the means of the communications of the data is obscured. Since our topic is based on steganography, I'd say go steganography. So let's look into the different types of steganography. We have text-based, image-based, audio-based, and video-based steganography. So let's look into the working of text-based steganography. We use an embedding algorithm to combine our secret text with a cover text and generate a stegnotext, which is then shared across the communication channel to the receiver, who will then extract the secret message using the secret key. Now, image steganography. In this, instead of using the cover text, we use the cover image, wherein the secret message is embedded into the pixel of the image. Now, audio steganography. Again, it is similar to the image steganography, and here the information is embedded into the note frequencies. Video steganography. Here, it embeds the secret message into the pixel of cover video and transmit it to the receiver. In all these techniques, the underlying concept remains the same. The only difference would be the source of the cover message. Now let's look into the advantages of steganography. The advantages are it helps in securing transfer of the data. Mm, and there are negligible chances of decoding when caught, and it is difficult to detect. Only the receiver can be able to detect it, and it provides better security for sharing data in local area network, metropolitan area network, wide area network. Okay, now let's look into applications of steganography. There are wide ranges of applications of steganography, and as you can see in the image, the most common applications are given in the image. There's law enforcement, digital forensics, national security, digital and cipher security, and evaluate the steganographic techniques. Okay, now that we have a brief understanding of concept of steganography, let us get into actual paper, the limitations of steganography, authored by Ross J. Anderson and Fabian A. Pp. It was published in the IEEE Journal on Selected Areas in the Communications, Volume 16, Number 4 on May 4th, 1998. Okay, let's look into the abstract of the paper. In this paper, we clarify what steganography is and what it can do. We contrast it with the related disciplines of cryptography and traffic security. Present a unified terminology agreed at the first international workshop on the subject and outline number of approaches. Many of them developed to hide encrypted copyright marks or serial numbers in the digital audio or video. We then present a number of attacks, some new, on such information hiding schemes. These lead us to discussion of forbidable obstacles that lie in the way of general theory of information hiding systems. However, theoretical consideration lead to ideas of practical value, such as the use of parity checks to amplify covetousness and public key steganography. Finally, we show the public key information hiding system exists and are not necessarily constrained to case where the warden is passive. So, here the author starts off by providing a brief understanding of steganography and how it is contracts with the principle of cryptography and traffic security. The authors then move on to the limitations of the information hiding schemes. Finally, they prove that the existing of public key steganography systems and the presence of an active warden. So let's talk about the theoretical limitations discussed in the paper. Okay, the first one is compression in steganography systems. Here, in steganography system, we use the technique of compression to transform the stego data such that it can be reproduced again using decompression. In this paper, the authors explain how a perfect compression will make information hiding either trivial or impossible. Now, the second theory is entropy in steganography system. Okay, entropy is a very common term used in the information theory. As shown in the equation, the entropy of stego data, denoted by H of S, would be the sum of the entropy of cover data, denoted by H of C, and embedding data, denoted by H of E. In this paper, the authors explain means in which estimate the entropy of the stego text and determine if any secret message is embedded within the cover data. Okay, now selection channel in steganography systems. A selection channel is an entity that determines which information bits in the cover data needs to be tweaked to retrieve the secret message. Okay, the authors uses the example of the book cipher to explain what selection channel is and how it can be used by the attackers to retrieve the secret message in the paper. Okay, now power of parity. In a in a steganography system, we use the principle of parity and embed our secret message by selecting random bit from selection channel and embedding the secret message bit as their parity. The authors proceed to explain how the covered capacity using the parity bits cannot provide accurate information as to how much data can be safely hidden. Thus, theoretically, with a set of M covered text, it could be difficult to determine how many encoding can be hidden safely. Okay, next is equivalence classes. When two subsets of stegosets are equivalent or directly related to one another, we call it an equivalence class. In an equivalence class of cover text, C1 and C2, we can directly select one representative between C1 and C2 when running the compression. However, in this paper, the author explains how there can be a data loss between lousy or lossless compression techniques. Okay, active and passive warden. Active and passive warden can be considered as network traffic monitors. The major difference between an active warden and a passive warden is that a passive warden relies the information to the process outside the steganography system. When any unauthorized traffic is detected, but it does not act on it. However, an active warden will remove any such unauthorized traffic and inject noise into the message. Okay, let's talk about a public key steganography. Okay, to overcome the theoretical limitations stated in the paper, the authors have also provided the possibilities of using a public key steganography. Yeah. So, what is public key steganography? A public key steganography system enables two parties that have never met or exchanged a secret to send secret message over a public channel. This system is similar to the underlying concept of public key in cryptographic system. In a public key steganography, we have pair of keys, public key and a private key. A public key is shared among all the entities, but the private key remains the secret. Only one entity has access to the private key and is used during decryption. Okay. Only one entity has access to the private key and used during decryption, wherein the public key is used during encryption. Only when we use both the keys, public and private key, as a combination in the systems, we will be able to encrypt and decrypt the data successfully. In the paper, the authors explain the use of the active and passive warden in the systems and concludes the paper. Okay, they have concluded the paper by saying they have explored the limit of steganography theory and practice. They started off by outlining a number of techniques, both ancient and modern, together with the attacks on them. They have discussed a number of possible approaches to a theory of the subject. They pointed out the difficulties that stand in the way of theory of perfect covetousness with the same power of as Shannon's theory of perfect secrecy. But consideration of entropy gives us some quantitative and the leverage and the selection channel, the bandwidth of the Stegoki. It led us to suggest embedding information in the parity checks rather than in the data directly. This approach gives us improved efficiency and also allows us to do public key steganography. Finally, they have shown us the public key steganography may sometimes be possible in the presence of an active warden. Thank you everyone for listening to the presentation. I would like to thank Dr. Hicks for giving me this opportunity to share my understanding of this intriguing paper. I hope I was able to arouse your curiosity enough to read the paper. Thank you.